Please welcome Mr. Daniel Jeremiah. Daniel, what's happening, brother?
What's up, boys?
DJ, are you surprised at all that Daniel Jones is named starter for the Colts? Did you know this was coming weeks ago? How do you feel about this?
I wasn't really surprised. I mean, I just thought, with Daniel Jones, it's a little bit of the unknown, which works in his favor, in terms of being inside the building there. I thought Anthony Richardson, normally you'd say the tie goes to the young guy. I just think it had been such kind of a rocky experience that they wanted to try something new. So he was going to have to be significantly better than Daniel Jones. And, the preseason, I didn't think there was a huge gap between those guys. But, talking to people that have been in there during training camp and everything, you could kind of see this swinging towards Daniel Jones.
Daniel, can we tell enough from preseason games, especially with quarterback play? You can look at numbers and all that. I know sometimes they can get inflated if a guy takes a screen pass 65 yards for you or whatever, gives you some good-looking stats. But can we tell when we're watching these preseason games with quarterbacks? I feel like unless I'm there day in and day out watching practice and seeing, hey, how's the 2-minute drill going? How's it going? Move the sticks, all of that stuff. How do we can you evaluate quarterbacks from these preseason games?
I've always said preseason is a liar. So there's been times every single year where people will take something from the preseason and they run with it, and then there ends up being absolutely nothing to it. Now, with quarterbacks personally, I think you can see, is the game too fast for guys? It's only going to get faster when you get to the regular season. So especially with, rookies and young guys, you get a sense of just how sped up they are. Are they a little bit under control? Is there some poise there? I think those are the types of things that you can glean from that. I don't know that the production in terms of what the stat sheet looks like, the box score, if that tells you who's played well and who hasn't played well. But you can see, you guys know when you get rookies out there, young players out there, you can tell guys that, okay, he's going to be able to help us. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, DJ, speaking of quarterbacks, Ty Schmidt has a question for you.
Yeah, DJ, so speaking of that, the preseason being a liar and everything, how enthused were you on Caleb Johnson's performance the other night with
Caleb Williams?
Oh, Caleb Williams.
Mixed both him and Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I did. Thinking Ben Johnson.
That's impressive.
But, everyone saying same thing, vanilla defense, but he obviously looked unbelievable. What do you take away from his start the other night?
Yeah, I was fired up. If nothing else, it just kind of gave you a display of the weapons, especially with Loveland being in the mix now. You saw Burden get one later on in the game. So I think it was just kind of a display of okay, the offensive line it's more competent now with the upgrades they made along the interior. We've got weapons, and it was kind of a chance for Ben Johnson to show off some of the creativity, which I think has been lacking there last year under Caleb. So, I've never, ever questioned Caleb's ability. I think the talent is all there. I thought more than anything else, even more so than the offensive line and the scheme, they need somebody to kind of pump him back up full of confidence. And, you watch that preseason game, again, more so than the stats or the throws. This looked like the old kind of confident Caleb Williams when he was rolling in college.
Comment. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, DJ. Thank you, AJ. DJ, great to see you. Always a pleasure. You had a great tweet about New England last night. Obviously, Terry McLaurin not there for the Commanders. Trey Hendrickson was on the field for talking to Duke Tobin, and then Micah obviously being the other guy. And you basically said, hey, look, if you're Elliott Wolf and the New England Patriots, you at least, shoot your shot at Jerry Jones, try and go after Micah Parsons. I believe there was another tweet about the Packers possibly being one of those teams with Micah. Everyone's interested in all three of these guys if they are truly available. Who do you think any of these guys are going to end up with? And do you think Terry's probably going to go back to Washington? Maybe Trey Hendrickson, the price goes down in a week or two and then he gets traded. What do you kind of foresee when it comes to these guys?
Well, first of all, I hadn't been on the show since we were going through the draft stuff, and I thought, gosh, what do I have to do to get back on the show? And I'm like, oh, dude, if I tweet about the Patriots, I'll be on.
You're killing me. You're killing me.
Yeah, so that was the easy way to approach that.
Thanks.
No, look, when it's rare to see these guys, personnel guys, never go on the record on anything. Everything's always vague and nondescript. So when Elliott Wolf comes out there and publicly says, yeah, no, shoot, we'd be willing to trade a first or second round pick for a premier player, I was like, I don't know that you say that unless you really are trying to, be aggressive and go after one of these guys. So that caught my attention. And then the first two names that came up were McLaurin and Hendrickson. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're going to go big game hunting, well, you might as well swing for the fences on that one. If you look at it and say, okay, we've got the young quarterback, he doesn't cost us anything. We can afford a big ticket item. then shoot, I would start at the very top. Now, I don't think Jerry Jones, I don't even know if he takes the call, much less would entertain trading Micah, but I would at least effort that. I think the more realistic one would be Hendrickson. I don't even think McLaurin gets traded. I mean, I think with where they are with their young quarterback and a team that was very close last year, against the Eagles in the championship game, I figure that as soon as we get closer to the regular season, that thing gets worked out there in Washington. But Hendrickson, the Bengals, that just seems like that's not going in the right direction, and they seem to be, at least by all accounts, a little more open to moving him. So I don't know. I like the fact that the Patriots kind of put themselves out there and said, "Hey, man, we're open for business. We want to be aggressive." That's not normally something you hear.
DJ, as far as Hendrickson goes, I know they claim that they're close on the average per year that he wants, but the guarantees are nowhere near what Hendrickson's want. Do you have any idea what those numbers may look like and what kind of deal he's looking for?
No, I have to go I think Ian or one of those guys would be able to help you on the number thing in terms of where they are. I was talking to an agent who had a player this last offseason and a team, as they were going through a negotiation, and kind of hearing the stuff that gets out there publicly and then getting a peek behind the curtain of how, far or how close they are. Sometimes what's out there in the public and then what, the differences are on the numbers can be drastically different. So you can be close in one or two areas, but if you're the agent on the player, if there's one of those criteria where they're not in the same ballpark, that's tough to get through.
Yeah, go ahead, D-Butt.
What's up, DJ? Good to see you. Quarterback battles. We just named Flacco got named yesterday. Daniel Jones got named today. There's one more out there down in New Orleans with Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler. Which way do you think they're going to go with that battle, and when do they announce it?
I can just tell you which way I would go. I would go with Shuck, just from seeing him live against the Chargers in that first preseason game, and then watching him a little bit last week. I think there's more to kind of dream on. This doesn't feel like it's a playoff, type season for this squad. So let's learn what we've got. And to me, he offers more upside. Let Kellen work with him. Kellen does a nice job with the screen game. They'll give him some opportunities to have some success. I don't see them winning a whole lot of ball games, but he's shown enough to me that I'd be intrigued to see what he looks like. And they can go into the draft next year knowing what they have with him. So in terms of the timing of it, I think sooner than later you want to get that done, just so you can, as you guys were discussing, prioritize and divvy up those reps and get him ready to go. So that he's an older guy too, man. He's got freaking 4 degrees. It's not like this is a long development here.
25 or 26?
Get him out there. Yeah, he's 25. We had the game against the Chargers, and I think Trey Lance either the same age or maybe even younger than him. He's been in the league 5 years.
Jeez. That's awesome.
Speaking of quarterbacks that have been around for a while, Tone Diggs has something for you, DJ.
Yeah, I do, Mr. Sticks. There's a potential situation brewing in New York with the Giants because Jackson Dart has played so well in those first 2 preseason games. Now, Brian Daboll named Russell Wilson the starter a while ago, but we know Daboll could be coaching for his job this season, so it's like you want Russell Wilson because he's the veteran and he's going to make the right decisions. But then if you put Jackson Dart in at some point and he shows flashes, they may keep you around just because they want to keep that continuity together. How do you feel about the situation in New York and how Jackson Dart has looked so far in his first 2 preseason games?
Yeah, I really like the way that he's looked, and that goes back to just, he looks like the game is pretty slow for him, which is good to see. It's a lot of vanilla stuff in the preseason, but he looked very much in control. He can move around and create and make plays with his legs, but he's done a nice job hanging in the pocket, showing that toughness that he has and delivering some strikes, working in the middle of the field, which is another good sign for a young quarterback that he's comfortable. He doesn't just stay and live on the perimeter. He's comfortable working in the middle. I've said the same thing, since they drafted him. I think this is a year where we see more of Jackson Dart than we see of Russell Wilson. But, Russell Wilson, give us a month, man. Give us a month or 6 games.
Yeah, that's what DJ.
Let this kid.
Do you think they have a plan?
Yeah.
Do you think Daboll has some kind of plan in mind? Or hey, Russ, you play yourself out of the job, or what? You just keep going until we feel like you're not getting it done, Russ, or what?
Yeah, look, dude, the schedule is brutal. Their schedule, there's no easy entry point for a young quarterback when you look at it. But I've been around teams and been on teams where the plan is hey, this guy's going to sit the whole year. We don't want to play him. We're going to redshirt him basically. And then 2 games into the season, you're like, well, frick, we might as well just throw this guy out there. So whatever the plans are, they have a way of changing. But I think we'll see more of Dart this year than we do of Russell Wilson.
Yeah, DJ, I had to follow, but when you were talking about Chuck and the Saints and kind of seeing what they have for next year's draft, I know from listening to Move the Sticks that you've already dove into the quarterbacks from last year. I was listening to you guys around the time of the Manning Passing Academy, and everyone was very, very impressed with Sellers there. Who do you see being the top quarterback in next year's draft? Because I know Arch probably not coming out, but Sellers, Nuss, Cade, all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, let's assume that Arch is going back to school. I guess when you say it's the first time with a prospect I've ever said I'll take his grandfather's word for it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to come out. So, dude, a lot can change and guys get better and guys, regress. But I popped on Sellers, and I don't know if I had a good round of golf that day or what, but I was like, holy crud! Like, this dude is impressive. He is big. He is physical. He can drive the ball. He creates. I thought this dude is he'd be someone that's going to be really exciting to watch. So I'll be watching a lot of South Carolina. Nuss is just real efficient. He would be underneath him right there for me. Just accurate, efficient, tough. Excited to see him this year. I'd have Klubnik a little bit below Nuss, but shoot, we'll see those guys square off week one, so that might settle itself.
Yeah. DJ, how do you feel about the whole Matthew Stafford situation right now? I know he's back at practice now, finally. He's dealing with some kind of back injury, I guess. Like, do you know anything more, and how comfortable are you with him, I guess, being able to make it through the whole season?
Yeah, I mean, at back, dude, I don't think you mess around with that. So I don't know how anybody could say you feel great about it or you feel super confident, comfortable about it. The only thing that I would say that I just witnessed it again the other day with the Rams. They're playing their backups, and they're so well coached, man, and they're so physical, even with their backup unit. They're going to be dynamic on defense with that front. And then you look at what they want to do running the football. They've got some backs now. They got a stable of backs and a real physical, offensive line, and McVay scheming it up. I don't know that they're going to be super, quarterback dependent. So, even if Stafford, I wouldn't be saying like, hey, let's just get him ready for the playoffs. Like that, you can't do that in the NFL. But I don't know that he needs to play a full 17 games or be kind of the driving force of that offense for them to be a really, really good team and a playoff team.
Go ahead, Tosh Schmidt.
DJ, what are your expectations for Cam Ward this year? It seems like draft night, he went first unceremoniously, and we kind of swept right over it with Travis Hunter, getting traded up for right after that. And even this preseason, he's had a couple nice throws, but he hasn't really wowed anyone, and he hasn't really been part of the conversation like a lot of these other guys have been. What are your expectations for him this year?
I went out there and saw him at training camp. And I'll be honest with you, just watching him at practice and then watching the preseason, I'm way more concerned about the guys catching it and the guys blocking for him than I am for him. I think he's going to be good. And you saw some big time throws in the preseason that just weren't always hauled in. Ridley's a stud, like he's going to get a ton of balls, but they've got, they're going to have a mixture of some vets like Lockett, and they've got some young kids like Io Manor as a rookie. But I don't think the offensive line is quite where it needs to be. But I was talking to some of their coaches and stuff, and I'm like, saying it nicely, but hey, the good news is last year you guys were bad and boring. I don't think you're going to be boring. I don't think you're going to be boring this year with Cam. He's going to make it kind of fun, and you'll see some splash plays. But they're in the very early stages of building out that roster. They earned the first pick.
Yeah, I guess that is true. You do earn that thing. But speaking of teams that might be under the radar a little bit, the Seattle Seahawks. What do you make of them this year? I think Sam Darnold out there. I'm very curious how he looks. Obviously, played great last year, earned himself a contract with the Seahawks. Maybe we're biased because they're so far out there. We don't talk about them as much. But what do you think of the Seahawks this year?
I really like what I've seen. And again, I'm trying to not contradict what I said earlier about not getting too overzealous here in the preseason. But man, like Kubiak, that system fits Sam Darnold perfectly. Sam looks confident and comfortable. You can move him around. They upgraded that offensive line. Gray Zabel's probably been the best rookie in the preseason if you just want to look at how they've played and what they've done. To put him along the interior of that offensive line, he can get up to the second level. He's going to help them have a firm pocket, pass protection. He's a really good player. So I love what they've done, and they've got a lot of good young pieces on defense. They're fast. So I'm high on them. I think they got a good shot to win that division.
What about that backfield? Who's going to be the starting back? I saw you make a comment about Charbonnet maybe being a better fit than Kenneth Walker. What do you see them leaning with that backfield?
Yeah, I mean, look, Kenneth Walker is explosive and talented, and he's a really good football player. I just think Charbonnet, with some of the stuff they're doing, I just think he sees it a little faster. He's a little bit better fit in that regard. I think they're both going to get out there and play a ton. But I just was watching Charbonnet, and I'm watching this system, and where the creases are going to be different when you're running that stuff, and he's just got a really, really good feel when you're stretching it to sort and see it go. So I was impressed with what I saw with him. We'll see how they divvy it up as we go throughout the year, but that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, DJ, we saw some good ball last night, Monday Night Football. Tone Diggs has a few questions about that.
Yeah, DJ, I feel like you are the man to ask. You would know more about this guy than others. The rookie, what is it, Bill Croskey-Merritt, was Jacory Croskey-Merritt. I believe he was at UNLV for a year and then didn't play last year at Arizona maybe. So, but the internet is a buzz with him, especially with the Brian Robinson Jr. trade rumors. What's your scouting report on this guy?
Yeah, he's tough, man. You go back, you look, he went to the East-West Shrine game is where he kind of popped. And so you go and watch him. He was healthy. Like, kudos to him. He could have, he gets hurt. He could have just said, I'm just going to wait and get to get to a pro day and show that I'm healthy. But he went to the All-Star game and did a really nice job there. And he's had, he tested well. He ran well. So, he's got some speed. He's a hard physical runner. I mean, he helped himself a ton late in the process. And then I talked to Adam Peters maybe a week into training camp, just checking in with him. He's a San Francisco Giants fan, mostly making fun of him for how bad the San Francisco Giants are. But just asking about these young guys, and this was the first one that he mentioned, just how fired up and excited he was with what he'd seen. So, man, they found themselves one.
Why is he a late pick, DJ?
Because he wasn't healthy. He just hadn't had a healthy, whole process. And it's a running back, and there's always a ton of running backs. So,
and they don't value running backs anymore
guys.
For some reason. We don't value.
Well, no, I don't think
backs.
It's much that. I just think that it's hard to evaluate running backs in college because it's such a space game, right? So there's so much space. You can have a lot of guys who are real productive. So when you're stacking up guys, like, okay, well, this guy missed a huge chunk of the year. Doesn't have as much of a resume, that kind of dings him.
All right, go ahead, man.
Yeah, DJ, team that values running backs is the team you kind of call every Sunday, the Chargers.
Kind of.
What are the vibes out of Chargers camps? Obviously, Slater goes down. It sucks. He's done for the year right after getting paid. But aside from that, kind of how is the mood, the vibe of the Chargers camp? And how's Trey Harris doing? I feel like we've heard a lot about Keandre Lambert-Smith, the kid who kind of made a name early, and he's been the early wide receiver everyone's been talking about in camp. But what about Trey Harris? What about Hampton? How are the Chargers going to be this year for you?
Well, look, it's going to be fun. Last week in the preseason, Trey Harris kind of had his coming out party. So it didn't have a lot of opportunities in the first 2 weeks, in the Hall of Fame game and in that game against the Saints. But I think he had 5 for 85 or something like that, and was showing kind of all the different things he can do. He can work in the middle of the field, had a nice toe tap on a deep ball from Trey Lance down the sideline. Someone who is a former quarterback and in high school, he sees everything really well. He's going to be a good player. Now, with Lambert-Smith, he gives you more of the juice and the explosiveness, the big play stuff. I thought, that game the other day, Quentin Johnson gets dinged early, and they put him right in. So he was in there with the ones, and Herbert hits him on a corner route. So he's already got the trust of Justin Herbert, which is a good thing to have. So Hampton, he looks enormous, and we haven't had a chance to see him much in the preseason, but in practice, talking to all the coaches every week, they love him. So he's going to be running the rock for sure.
DJ, I don't want to put you on the spot too much here, but is there a player or maybe a team that we're sleeping on that isn't getting the pub that you feel like they deserve that, and maybe 2-3 months from now we're talking about a lot, and they're like an everyday guy that we're talking about?
AJ.
Oh, that is a great question. I was thinking team-wise, and I'm not sucking up to the room, but I was thinking just looking over the rosters the other day. I was like, who are the most improved teams? New England was up there as one of the most improved teams.
I thought he was going to say the Steelers.
No. But I'll say this about Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh that defense has a chance to be the best defense in the NFL. And the offensive line with all these young guys, and Fatanu looks really, really good out there at right tackle.
Project's
the
not
tight end
bad either.
Rodgers looked good. The tight end, when you have a bonus tackle as an extra tight end, I don't know what he's pushing weight wise right now, but Donald Washington is a man child.
DJ? Did I see you tweet that he could be the next left tackle? Like he should be starting left tackle?
Dude, I will. You can mark this clip.
I'm in the same camp.
If in 3 years, he's not only has made the conversion to tackle, but is a starting tackle, and I will say he's got a really good chance to be a Pro Bowl tackle.
Agreed.
There's just not many guys that are that big that can move like that. And if I was his agent, I would be like, here's what the 15th best tight end in the NFL makes. Here's what it is. Now here's what a top 10 offensive tackle makes in this league. Like, make the switch, dude. Your finances will thank you.
I agree.
DJ, what'd you think of Joe Burrow getting ragdolled a few times last night? Would you be a fan of that if you were coaching that team or you the GM of the Bengals?
I'm always on preseason. Like, everybody, if you want to get some guys out there and get them going, I'm good with that. The quarterback's just different to me. Like, I get you want to get out there and get a couple series, hand the ball off. We want to throw a couple smoke screens out there just to, get a little bit of a feel. But watching Joe Burrow drop back this many times in the preseason, I understand it. They haven't got off to good starts, and they're trying to rectify that. But I don't know that's the right answer.
Yeah, is Al Golden going to be able to get that defense going? I know they've given up some explosive plays early in the preseason. They said they've looked much better in practice. We know that does matter. But what's Al Golden going to be able to do with this defense? Because we know Joe is most likely he's going to beat Joe again. Their offense is going to put up points, but can the defense stop anybody?
I think they'll get better. I think they have a lot of key young players that you'll see them improve. And he's a not just a scheme guy, he's a good developer of players, and I think that college background helps with that. So, and maybe that's why they're playing these offensive guys and playing Burrow so much in the preseason, because, like, dude, until we get the defense up to speed, we got to come out the gates humming. So, I mean, I think they'll get better. I don't think they're going to be great to start the season. I think they're still going to be heavily, relying on Burrow in this offense. But I don't know if you're a Bengals fan, if you can complain. Is there a more fun offense to watch on a weekly basis than what they've got right now?
It is pretty awesome. You are right there. But flip side, though, Washington, what about them? You think they take a step back, or are they able to continue what they have been doing? And Jaden's obviously unbelievable rookie season.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden's, again, talking to folks there, everything's just somehow faster, which is hard to believe, as fast as he played last year and how he processed so well. That's gotten better. The offensive line's better. I think the biggest improvement is in the secondary. They've got some young, talented, good pieces in that secondary. I think they're going to be better there. Their challenge is just going to be, can their front stand up to Philly, and that's what who they got to get through to get where they want to go. So that's a little bit TBD for me.
Yep, that is TBD. But Daniel, we appreciate you. We look forward to you and Matt Money Smith on the call for what the Chargers all season.
Dude, we'll be in Brazil, man. We're going to Brazil here for the
what? Are you getting are they going to get you a lay down seat? I hope for that long flight.
I'll be honest with you. I like Justin Herbert's chances for the lay down seat a lot more than the radio analyst's chances at that seat. We're just hoping for an open seat. We're hoping for an open seat. I think it's 12.
Oh, man.
12.
You guys could, if you get an open seat and you have three, you and Matt Money Smith could lay head to foot. You know what I mean?
Well, first of all, I don't understand Money. As soon as we get on the plane, he's dead asleep. And I'm like, is it the noise cancelers? Is it the noise cancelers? And I'm like, I think there's a little more than the noise cancelers that are helping.
Some PEDs. He's using some PEDs on there, huh?
Test him, yeah.
They'll have to test him when he gets to Brazil.
That's not water in that cup. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Nice. All right. Hey, DJ, appreciate you, man. We look forward to everything you do this season. We will definitely have you back on. But, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Daniel Jeremiah. Thanks, buddy.
DJ!